So anyway, I already made a video talking about this, but it was just kind of like rushed on account of the fact that I didn't really have a proper setup. And apparently the audio in that video was also pretty crap. So this was the statement that Mike Morhaime did last week after the lawsuit was public. And he just titled it "My Thoughts." And we're gonna be talking about Mike Morhaime's statement because this has to be one of the most disappointing things that I've seen from Mike Morhaime. It's not because of the statement itself, but because of what it implies, kind of like taints the way that I thought about Mike Morhaime. Because, I always looked at Mike Morhaime as a natural-born leader, as someone who was ahead of Blizzard for so long, and particularly during the heyday of Blizzard, Mike Morhaime was at the helm. So I always had huge respect for him, and the fact that he got out of Blizzard right before they announced Diablo Immortal, I was like, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking like, oh man, he knew, and he wanted to get out, because he understands us, right? I always had this image of Mike Morhaime. And then after I read this, I was like, really, dude? Really? Okay. So I've read the full complaint against Activision Blizzard and many of the other stories. This is all very disturbing and difficult to read. I am ashamed. It feels like everything I thought I stood for has been washed away. What's worse, but even more important, real people have been harmed and some women had terrible experiences. So he does not deny that he was aware of some of this. Maybe he wasn't aware, to the extent that it was bad, but this still happened under his watch. And this is a serious problem. As far as I'm concerned, this is a serious problem. Because, maybe somebody reached out to him, maybe someone reached out to someone under him, and, maybe he heard about it and he didn't pay the proper attention. Who knows what happened? But it was just tremendously disappointing to hear that he was aware. Like, oh, I'm ashamed. It's like, oh, I was at Blizzard for 28 years. During that time, I tried very hard to create an environment that was safe and welcoming for people of all genders and backgrounds. I knew that it was not perfect, but clearly we were far from that goal. The fact that so many women were mistreated and were not supported means we let them down. In addition, we did not succeed in making it feel safe for people to tell their truth. It is no consolation that other companies have faced similar challenges. I wanted us to be different, better. I think not just you, Mike. I think everybody wanted Blizzard to be different and better, and everybody thought that Blizzard was different and better, which is why, the notion of working for Blizzard was almost like it was an important thing just to be able to say, oh, I worked at Blizzard. It was like a resume thing, right? Harassment and discrimination exist. They are prevalent in our industry. It is the responsibility of leadership to keep all employees feeling safe, supported, and treated equitably, regardless of gender and background. It is the responsibility of leadership to stamp out toxicity and harassment in any form across all levels of the company. To the Blizzard women who experienced any of these things, I'm extremely sorry that I failed you. At the very least, he apologizes, like he acknowledges that this stuff happened and that he failed. So at the very least, he at least apologized, because there were some Blizzard staff that came out and just denied. There's nope, lies. These are all lies. Never happened. Never happened. No idea what these people are talking about. This is insane. So, the fact that there were some people that just flat out denied when it was clearly obvious. I mean, this is a government entity that is suing Blizzard. This is not some Twitter he said, she said, twitlonger or whatever. This is a government entity. They're not going to go through this unless they actually have actionable proof. So, yeah. Then he says, I realize these are just words, but I wanted to acknowledge the women who had awful experiences. I hear you. You didn't hear them back then. I believe you, and I'm so sorry to have let you down. I want to hear your stories if you are willing to share them. As a leader in our industry, I can and will use my influence to help drive positive change to combat misogyny, discrimination, and harassment wherever I can. I believe we can do better, and I believe in the gaming industry can be a place where women and minorities are welcomed, included, supported, recognized, rewarded, and ultimately unimpeded from the opportunity to make the types of contributions that all of us join this industry to make. I want the mark I leave on this industry to be something that we can all be proud of. Yeah, that's gonna be hard. Should have done a better job while you were, still in the leadership of Blizzard. It's just the worst part is that him leaving the company, and apparently since he left, there's been an investigation going on. Probably the investigation was already going on while he was still in there. It just even makes me question, did you leave because you saw the hammer was coming down? Like, I don't know. There's no definitive way to know if he knew that the hammer was going to come down. There's no definitive way of knowing any of these things, but it definitely looks like it. And I'm be real. If you suddenly became aware of all of the nonsense that was happening at Blizzard, it was literally your job to fix it and not just ditch it to J. Allen Brack. I'm not saying that J. Allen Brack is that much better. J. Allen Brack's leaked email was not great. Let's put it like that. I'm not going to be going through his email either, but it was not great. And it kind of sucks. But there's also something else to be said here, which is the fact that these people that perpetrate these kinds of behaviors, these people that do this type of bullshit, right? These people that abuse women, either psychologically, physically, or in any way. The problem with these people is that they'll behave one way when they're around women, and a completely different way when they're around men. They're not... I've heard recently a story about someone who used to work at Blizzard. This was from a podcast. And she was running an event or something, and someone just came up behind her and grabbed her by the waist, and it's what the fuck? Someone comes behind my wife, grabs her by the waist, and I'll fucking show that someone's gonna be eating a fucking chair through the fucking face. What the fuck? That is not okay. You do not simply come up behind a woman and, or grab a boob or grab her by the waist or touch the ass. You don't simply do that. That's fucked up. Just in case someone's not aware, that's pretty fucked up. That's literally getting into someone's personal space, It's imagine... I'm going to say this. The worst part is that a lot of people are going to be yeah, I'd actually be fine with that. I was going to say, imagine a woman coming up to you and just grabbing you by the dick. I'm sure that a lot of people would actually be okay with that, which is pretty fucked up. That's the state of our society. You guys are all fucked up. Those of you who's I'm pretty okay with that. You're all fucked up. But you guys get the idea. Okay? You guys get the idea. It's getting up in someone's personal space is just fucked up. It's just very fucked up. And it is sexual harassment, yes. So it's these people that are fucking creepers, they're good at hiding themselves. That is also a problem. Which is why we need to listen more. Listen more to the stories and maybe, dig a little bit deeper when something is said that you might be that was very inappropriate. We need to pay more attention. All of us as a community. Because that's really all that I can ask people to do at this point. Because clearly something fucked up has been happening in Blizzard, and a lot of people were either not aware of it or were aware of it and just didn't want it to rock the boat. I'm sorry, but someone having the friggin' Cosby suite, where they're just or someone just straight up, what was the way that they described it? Sometimes I miss the English words. Someone just suddenly coming up to a female coworker and just hugging them out of the blue. It's a thing where if you know somebody, if you know somebody well, and you guys are like close and whatnot, and you guys hug. That's one thing. It's a whole nother thing where it's like out of the blue, it's like, give me, hey! It's like, oh, dude, it's like, take a chill pill, all right? Just like relax. But yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up, and I've been really pissed off, like, through all of the stories that I've been hearing about this. This is not okay, and we got to make sure that people understand that this is not okay, because this doesn't just happen at Blizzard. This has happened in other places, and I get a feeling that this situation at Blizzard is going to actually be a catalyst for a lot more people coming forward. And it is also important for the people coming forward to have, you know, meaningful experiences, meaningful accusations that can be hopefully backed up. Because, you know, if we dilute this down, if we allow this to just like become like every other thing that's been happening in the industry where it just like gets diluted down to the point where nobody's listening anymore, then all of this will have been for nothing. All of the stories that people are sharing will have been for nothing. So, yeah. Now, next up we have the statements by Chris Metzen. I don't think I've actually seen these yet. This is later than it should have been. Here's my response. We failed, and I'm sorry. Again, see, same energy as Mike Morhaime. We failed. So it's like, on some level, it feels like he was aware that stuff was happening. To all of you at Blizzard, those of you I know and those of you whom I've never met, I offer you my deepest apologies for the part I played in a culture that fostered harassment, inequality, and indifference. There's no excuse. We failed too many people when they needed us because we had the privilege of not noticing, not engaging, not creating necessary space for the colleagues who needed us as leaders. I wish my apology could make any kind of difference. It can't. After reading so many of the experiences that have been shared over the past few days, a lot of common themes scream out. I was conditioned to think it was normal. I never spoke up for fear of reprisal. I didn't trust human resources. Nothing was going to change anyways. On and on it goes. Friends and colleagues, people I have valued and admired for years, were directly harmed because I was not present enough to ask, to listen, to hear these stories when it mattered. I'm left feeling the same shock, disgust, and anger that many of you are, and having trouble reconciling the place I knew, loved, and worked in for so long over the hard reality that has been presented over the past few days. It's like staring at two totally different worlds. But it's not. It's just a one world, and the yawning disconnect between my perception from the top and the crushing reality many of you experienced fills me with profound shame. Words are cheap, not sure what grand sweeping promises really do either. Accountability starts with people, not corporations or platitudes or values cast in iron around a statue. Ooh. For those of you that don't know, the statue that has Thrall riding like a... What are the little wolves called? They're just wolves? They have a name. I don't know. I'm not Horde, so I don't actually know the name of their dog mounts, but... You know, Thrall riding his wolf... Around that statue, there's like, you know, the core philosophies of Blizzard, which apparently they were just words cast in iron and nothing else. Unless we as individuals, and by we I mostly mean men, start to walk in far greater awareness, compassion, and empathy for the women around us and the whole of our lives, not just the work, then nothing changes. So many of us have women we cherish in our lives. I'm a father of 3, including 2 daughters, and I want them to flourish in workplaces of their choosing. But we shouldn't need a special connection to the women in our lives in order to protect them, to listen to them, to give them space. It is not enough just to say, I see you and I hear you when terrible things happen to women in and out of the workplace. We have to be present enough and willing enough to ask them what their experiences are day to day. And then do everything we can to support them with the respect, dignity, and opportunities they deserve. More than making the conscious choice to act this way, we must consistently and thoughtfully model this behavior to those around us. Hold each other accountable and be ready to be held to account. And listen at every stage of the game. This is one of the things that I was mentioning as we were looking over Mike's thing, which is that the industry as a whole needs to listen more. Unfortunately, it's very hard. You know, it is very hard to realize that these things happen because of the fact that these creepers will act one way around women and a completely different way around men. If they would at least have the guts to be disgusting to women in front of other men, and I'm talking about actual men that would stand up for their beliefs as opposed to men that just like co-opt this shit, which apparently was a culture within Blizzard. If they would just... It's so fucking frustrating, dude, because like the way that you think about this, the way that for people that are just like fucked up in the head and don't understand what is wrong to do, the way you think about it is like, imagine if you would want someone to do that to your daughter if you had one, to your mother, to your sister. Would you like that? You know, something that you did to a woman, would you like someone to do that to your mother or your daughter or your sister? Would you, would you want someone to go on a trip with your daughter or sister and take a suitcase with a butt plug and lubricant? Is that something that you would like? No? Then probably you shouldn't do it either. It's not that hard to conceptualize, to figure out whether or not something is wrong to do. Not to mention, I don't even get like the turn on that, because like to me, if my partner's not into it, it's an immediate turnoff. It's an immediate turnoff. It's like, oh, I don't understand. I don't friggin' understand why this is exciting for some people. It's weird. It's weird as fuck. It's just weird as fuck. Cannot relate.